Hey everybody, it's Max here at Modern Classics. Today is January the 10th of 2018. Happy New Year, nice to see ya. It's too wintry and cold outside to be driving my car, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a different video and open up a discussion that isn't really talked about on the internet. We all like to drive, enjoy, show and shine our classic cars, but we never really talk about values, at least in a public setting. And I thought, what the heck, let's give this a shot. If you like this video, let me know. If you don't, let me know as well. There is a comment section at the bottom of this video, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts. And what happened was this morning I was emailed a link to the Wall Street Journal. This was an article published back in 2005, and they took 50 cars and said whether you should buy, sell, or hold them. Thought this was very interesting, and since we have data to compare to today, I thought let's just do a little compare and contrast. And number one, see if you should have bought, sold, or held these cars back in the day, and see where they've gone today. All I'm going to do is just kind of present some facts here and some hard numbers. We're going to adjust the values to today's inflation. I've got my cheat sheet here. I've already done all this work. And then we're going to talk about return on your investment. So there's a little bit of math involved that I've done ahead of time. They took, like I said, 50 cars, buy, sell, or hold under those tabs. There's in total 50 cars. I'm going to take 9, so 3 cars per each tab, and I'm just going to talk about where they've gone. So let's jump right into it. Starting out is this beautiful Alfa Romeo. It's a Giulia, and it's the Sprint GT. What we've done here on the left-hand side, I should note, this is the Wall Street Journal. Obviously, on the right-hand side is Haggerty's Valuation Tools. If you're not familiar with Haggerty's Valuation Tools or Haggerty as a company, you should. If you're in the collector car market, they insure my full dealership. If they don't insure your car, they should. They're very good, and I'm not getting paid to say that. They're a great company, but they have this great valuation tool. Over here on the right-hand side is their average. Looking at this graph here, these are condition values. Clearly the top one being the best of the best and the bottom being the worst car. And on the left-hand side, they kind of did a similar thing. But what I'm going to do is take the average values. So I've already done that. That would be $10,000 adjusted for inflation today. Or I should say, I took values, inflation values from the 4th of July in 2005 to the 4th of July in 2017. So it's not exactly to this date for inflation values, but a 12-year span, nevertheless. So adjusted for inflation, that car back in 2005 was at an average trading value of $12,700. Today, you can see on the right-hand side of the screen that this car is valued at $31,000. That means over 12 years, that car has increased $18,300 in value with a return on your investment of 144% at an annual rate of 7.72%. That's pretty darn good. What we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to take 3 cars from each category. I'm going to breeze over some interesting cars, good cars. They are all interesting in their own respects, but I'm choosing cars that I'm a little bit biased towards because I am in the car business. I clearly have a dealership. I buy and sell classic cars for a living, and I just thought, let's just take a range in a variation of cars and see where the ranges are. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm going to try and provide a few facts. That brings us to this Datsun. It's a 1971 Datsun 240Z. There's going to be a theme here. I'd like to challenge that theme a bit, which is collectability and production numbers. So when it comes to collectability, something that makes a car collectible in a value sense is production numbers. Now the Z car, they made a lot of them. These, the 1970 and 71, that's the Mark 1 Z cars, are the most collectible. They had the least amount produced. And then after that, a lot of them were. So these cars have always sat at an interesting place in the market. A lot of people have speculated that they're going to rise in value. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that the values, and I've come up with an average. Remember, I'm talking adjusted inflation price for today of those average values of $16,200. Here we are looking at Haggerty's valuation of that car. They're saying that that's an $18,200 car. So what would have happened over that 12-year span if you held on to that car, or if you purchased this car? It would have increased about $2,000 in value. That's a return of your investment of 12%, with an annual rate of course, 1% being over this 12-year span. So you didn't get hurt. You had some fun probably driving your Datsun. And look at this graph. Haggerty's saying that they're actually increasing in value. which is what everybody has been hoping for, those little Japanese classics. They are great cars. I'd love to see them realize some value. So out of these 3 tabs, so 3 cars out of the 9 cars are going to be Ferraris. And you'll see here we're going to have our first one. That is this 1985 Ferrari 412i Coupe. This was a V12 front engine, rear-wheel drive, 4-seater car. And I always think they're super cool. They've definitely got like that Daft Punk styling to them. I think they will come into vogue. But they were a relatively mass-produced Ferrari at this time, and the build quality was not of great construction. So let's get into values. That's my opinion on them. They might come around considering a lot of them are junked. So the ones that are left remaining should see an increase in value. Maybe not. I should be careful when I say that. On that note, disclaimer, anything I say here is definitely at your own risk. All the standard investing disclaimers apply here. So please do not have your attorneys contact me, because they will be met back with mine. Enough of that, let's not go there. Here's the value of this Ferrari. So let's get back to values. This 412 back in the day, adjusted for inflation, this was a $44,400 car. Today it's worth $36,000 on average. Ouch, that kind of hurt. That means you've lost $8,400 with a return on your investment of negative 19%. Yeah, not a great one, but you can say, at least you can say you owned a Ferrari and you didn't have to spend more than $50,000 for the car. Okay, our next one is this Aston Martin. We're going to go to the sell side. They said that you should sell this car. I disagree. I don't think you should ever sell an Aston Martin DB6 Coupe. This thing is super cool. Back in the day, this car was trading at an average of $81,500. Adjusted for inflation, that's $103,600. Today's value is $318,000. That's pretty darn good. That's $214,400 that this car has increased over 12 years with a return on your investment of 206%. That's an annual rate close to 10%. Pretty darn good. You'll see that the higher value cars tend to always do better. Let's see if I can get in here and scroll down. There we go. We're going to skip over, like I said, some other interesting cars like those Austin Healey's. There's so much data here. If you guys have any questions or you want to like hone in on one of these cars or a certain genre of cars, please ask a question in the comments and maybe we'll do a video about it. So here is our next one. It's number 2 of our 3 Ferraris. This is a 1972 Ferrari 365 GTB Daytona. Such a cool car. I mean, I just don't think this is another car I just don't think you should ever sell. Anyways, let's get the drum roll going, and we're going to go over here to Haggerty. Boom, there it is. Today it's selling for $700,000. Adjusted for inflation back in 2005, this was a $150,000 car. Actually $151,000. Today, clearly you're seeing it's trading for $700,000. That's $549,000 that this car has made or created in value since 2005. That's a 363% return on your investment at an annual rate of 13%. But you can see it kind of takes money to make money, as this car definitely was not cheap back in the day. Scrolling down past some cool American cars, some other interesting European cars, we are going to be looking at this very cool Porsche 911. I love seeing these values. I remember when I used to think when I was younger that I could actually have one of these in my personal life. Right now, at my current economic state, probably not. Maybe in the future, but boy, it's fun to look back. So this was, adjusted for inflation, a $35,000 Porsche 911 Turbo. This was the first turbo ever produced by Porsche. They're presenting it. It's such a lovely shade of blue. If anybody knows the name of that color, please let me know. It's one of the cooler colors I've seen on an old Porsche. Definitely a rare color. So today's values, we'll go over here and bring up Haggerty's graph, trading at $135,000. So back in the day, this being a $35,000 car, it's literally increased $100,000 in 12 years. Pretty darn good. That's a return of your investment of 285% at an annual rate of 12%. Performing pretty well, I have to say, and you're having fun. Now remember, there's other costs that come into play here other than just these numbers. These things cost money to maintain, others more so than maybe an American car. and that's going to bring us to, we've got one coming up soon here that I'd like to talk about. But remember, there is cost of ownership. You can see you have to store these cars too and maintain them. You have to have a garage typically, and there will be a bit of depreciation depending on how you drive these cars. So if you go and rally the thing and it needs a new paint job, you know, these numbers do not take that into account, so do be aware of that. Okay, so we're going to go to our third and final Ferrari. This is 1985 308 GTS, very cool car. Everybody said these cars weren't going to go anywhere. They went on a pretty sharp curve. Take a look at what happened here. And now they're starting to come back down in price. So if we're looking at their numbers here on the left from the Wall Street Journal, they're saying on average, adjusted for inflation, this was a $42,500 car. They made a lot of them. Today, that value is $57,900. So it's increased $15,400 and a return on your investment of 36% at an annual rate of 3%. Pretty good for owning a pretty mass-produced Ferrari. Remember, just another fact on these cars, for maintenance, you need to be sure and have the timing belts done. That's a very important factor of these, because you do not want to lose one of those engines. Like I said, I was trying to choose a range of cars here. We're going to go to the staple in the collector car market. This is the 1966 Ford Mustang. I'm not a big Mustang guy. In fact, if my friends knew I was talking about this car, hopefully they don't see this video because they won't let me hear the end of it. But I thought that it would be a great car to look at just in general. Like I said, I was trying to take a range. So they're saying back in 2005, this car on average was a $25,000 car. Adjusted for today's inflation rate, that's a $32,000 car. And that's where Mustangs trade today on an average rate of $27,400. So you technically, let's see, you've lost, $4,600, and that's a 14% return on your investment, negative 14% return on your investment over a 12-year period, annual rate of 1.25. If you have a classic car like this and you want to have some fun, there you go. It's not a terrible loss, I have to say, especially when people are so used to losing significant amounts of money on cars. Let's digress. Here's a Porsche 356C. I'm not going to touch on that. We all know what's going on with those cars. If you don't, let me know and I'll make a video specifically. I've represented a ton of those cars, bought and sold a bunch of them. I know them very well. I have 3 under restoration right now. There's a lot going on with those cars. So that's a whole nother segment. But this brings us to the 1966 Shelby Cobra 427. Every car guy loves this car. They're saying you should have held it. I would agree with them. You should, and you still should hold this car. Back in the day, it was adjusted for inflation, a $365,500 car. Today, it's worth $1 million, just a little bit north of $1 million. So what'll happen over a 12-year, or what has happened over a 12-year period, is an increase in value of $684,425. That's a whopping amount. Remember, that was an expensive car in the first place to today's equivalent money of $365,000. It's a lot of dough. But now today, clearly you see it's worth $1 million. So your return on investment is 187% at an annual rate of 9%. Like I said, this car has made $684,000. Quite a bit of money. So I guess the takeaway from this is it takes a little bit of money to make money, of course. In general, people aren't really getting hurt on these cars. Remember, proper maintenance is important. But there's a lot to know about the collector car market. This is my job. This is what I do. It's my profession. As you can see, this is my dealership, Modern Classics. If you're not familiar, I'll have a link in the comments, or a link at the bottom of this video to my website. You can see what I'm all about there. I offer cars that I think have a lot of upside in them. And what I think you should do, like any financial decision, remember cars are pretty big, typically a person's second largest purchase aside from their house. You should seek advice, and there's a lot of different people out there and different resources you can talk to. If you don't like to talk to people, you can hop on Haggerty here and see cars, but there's also a lot of other ways of valuing cars as well. So definitely reach out to a professional, whether it's me or somebody else. is something that you really should do when considering a classic car. There's a ton of fun to be had. There's so many different cars out there at so many different price points with so many different utilities. Excuse me, utilities. I need some water. Anyways, my name's Max. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you didn't, that's fine too. Let me know what I did wrong, and if you want to open up the conversation and talk about anything else out of these cars, or if you have a specific car that you want to get into, just let me know. I'm happy to chat. Thanks for watching, and look forward to chatting with you.